Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we are continuing our discussion of Chapter 7 of Freemasons for Dummies, the symbols of Freemasonry.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we still have the three very worshipful brothers, the three VW Migos. That was pretty lame, but anyway, we have very worshipful brother David Colbeth, who's a member of King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. I'm Matt Appel, and I'm a member of Mill Creek Lodge number 243 here in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And very worshipful brother Stephen Chung, who's a member of Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, British Columbia. So we left off at the end of the last episode. We basically said, go back in a few episodes and listen to the part on the Circumpunct, which is a very powerful and ancient symbol, in my humble opinion. And it was worthy of the couple episodes we spent on it previously. And I really, in the intermediate time between the last episode and this episode, should have looked up what episode that was so I could tell our faithful listeners which one it was and they could go back and listen to it. But I didn't. So there we go.
I'll try to remember to put a link in the other episode.
Yes, that would be excellent. So we're going to move on, I think, to the pot of incense, which is the next. Unless you guys have something else you want to say about the Circumpunct and Saint John, all that sort of stuff. We're going to move on to the pot of incense, which both only gets 3 lines in the book, and I think it's an about equivalent amount in our ritual, at least in our state. It's always an acceptable sacrifice to deity, and it's burns with a fervent heat, and then we move on to something else. Do you guys, the pot of incense as a symbol, we've actually discussed, I think, briefly incense in lodges, but as a symbol, I don't think we talked about it before. Do you guys have thoughts?
I don't remember talking about it here necessarily either, or like in any detail as a symbol, but I guess I always thought about it as being as they use the sagebrush for clearing evil spirits or whatever. I know it's not technically that, but I think every belief or every religion or every use of it has some of those intents behind it. And so I think it also, not only does it have a spiritual meaning, but it also has a olfactory meaning too, right? We either could use it to focus because you're now smelling that thing and it allows you to drain away the outside world and ideas, or it's so strong, as in some lodges I've been to, that's all you can think about. You can't think about anything else, which I would caution brothers and lodges to not do that. It's, in my opinion, it's supposed to be just a sensory element, something that you go, oh. And what we've tried to do, and not necessarily successfully, but I've tried to do, is to have one scent in the main, like in the hallway or in the preparation room area, and a different scent in the temple room, the lodge room, ceremony room. So as you transition from one space to another, whether you really notice it or not, there are different spaces in visually, physically, and sensor. What's the word I'm looking for, Matt?
Olfactorily?
Maybe your senses, that you're not just your. Yeah, there's lots of things at play there.
So how do you do that? Do you use incense or do you use?
We did incense one time, and it was worse than trying to dim the lights at ceremony. As the old guys came in the room or whatever, it was, I can't stand that, I can't breathe, whatever. It was all these trigger events, if you will. And I get it. There is a lodge in our district that goes, in our opinion, and lots of people that visit go overboard on incense, and it is a little bit too intense, and you can't think about anything else. It's hard to focus. But I think having a simple, we just did a single that night, a single incense stick, but it was so different than what the guys had experienced before. They thought it was too much. And so over the years, I've tried to think about how we can do this. And I was at work one day, walked into work one day, and it happened to be cold season, and somebody had one of those little misting machines going with a eucalyptus scent.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and I was, way down the hallway and I could smell it as I came into the area. And I thought, bing. So I went and bought one of those little, it's a little bit too small. If I were to do it again, I would buy a bigger one, but just some oils. And you could get, so we talked about this in one of our shows, actually, a little bit. And Roger Nelson, our deputy Grand Master, uh, snagged me at one of our meetings. I think it was our strawberry feed or something. And he goes, I was catching up on on your podcasts on the drive over. And I smiled, a big Cheshire grin, thinking he's listening. And he goes, there's things that each of the degrees has a scent essentially that goes with it. And so he was talking about lots of stuff, and I don't remember he talks 4 levels way or higher than I can even process. Thank you, Roger. You're wonderful. But he said one of the things was frankincense. Of course, frankincense was one of the scents, and so I did find it in the store, or maybe it was online. I found frankincense, the essential oils, and so we try to use that frankincense smell when I remember to get it all out, because you have to have the water and you have to get it all set up and you have to get it up going ahead of time so the scent is out there, and it's a little bit of a process, but it's just like setting up a lodge, just like all these symbols. It's something you do things on purpose for those. So all that to say is the simple answer is I use a water-based, if you will, water-based scent through a humidifier type of device. The one in the hallway, we just use one of those, like a Glade plug-in type of thing, but we try and find something that's more generic for rental use and that kind of thing. But there isn't a transition between the two then, in theory. Again, whether anybody really notices it or not, I don't know. But
I was going to confess that the last time I was at your lodge, which wasn't too long ago, a couple weeks ago, I can't say I noticed a difference when I went in there.
I'm pretty sure that night I didn't set up the inside lodge, but also if nothing else, when I was rental manager, I didn't want to have the musty lodge smell when you first come in the door or in the hallways, because the building shut up a lot of the time, and so it just kind of gets that stagnant smell. So having those plugins at least takes your mind away from the musty closed door smell. It may not be prominent. You may not go, oh, this smells interesting. Like, there's actually a whole science of smells. And if you really want to learn about it, Google casinos and scents. And if you ever think about it, next time you're in Vegas or next time you're in a place like that and you walk into a casino or into a hotel in Vegas, if you think about it, try to smell. And the scent is unique to that, will be unique to that hotel and or that casino, and it actually will be very prominent and ironically pleasing. And it may not be, it's like a pleasing smell to everybody. It's this weird crafted, and there's of course no windows and no clocks, and it's always the same lighting. There's lots of things that go into that, but scent is actually one of the that keeps you awake. It's a little bit not spicy, but a little bit
invigorating.
Yeah.
Abercrombie and Fitch does the same thing.
Yeah,
there's a lot to that, the science that goes in behind it. There was a lady who was setting up a new store, this probably 10-15 years or 10-12 years ago now, and I was helping her with their marketing, and she had, I've got this lady coming in, and we're planning all the sensory effects that we're going to be putting into the store. And and she went, oh yeah, there's a whole methodology behind it. And I mean, I've been to Vegas before, but I never even really thought of those things, right? As you mentioned it, and it makes me remember this one incident. And yeah, she was planning a whole sensory thing for her store, everything from the scents to the look and feel, and how it affects the mood, and all the coloring behind everything. And she was putting a lot of effort into that. So there's a lot to be said for it, I guess. I've never seen scents used in any of the lodges in our area, so I can't relate it to our lodges or our work for anything up here. But
So we quickly veered into the physical, practical sense of the pot of incense. But as a symbol,
Mm-hmm.
is it a symbol that speaks to people, or do we think it's just a symbol meaning your lodge could smell nicer?
Well, I think it's kind of like the slipper. It's not that it's the slipper itself, or that it's the pot of incense itself. It's what does that represent in our practice, and the like you were saying, that the idea of cleansing and or spiritual alignment or purity and those kind of things, it all aligns. So it's just a symbol of those things. Just like the apron, you throw an apron on, it's just an apron. Is it?
Yeah.
To us, it's not just an apron because of the allegory we provide
Right.
with it.
And it says here it's an allegory for the pure heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it does make sense. Next one I thought was rather interesting was the beehive and its representation. And one single bee, right, that can't really accomplish much, but you get a whole bunch of them working together, and you can accomplish a great deal of things, right? And we're no different as humans that way, right? What's that saying? Many hands make light work, right? So. And I was, as I was discussing before we actually started the recording, the Discord server that we have set up for British Columbia and Yukon has been labeled the Hive, right? Because of all the effort that goes into it, and it's all us Masons in there making different things happen within the Hive, right? I think that's true to form from according to the description of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought you were going to say it's because you're all such Beyonce fans, but it's the actually the beehive is personally one of my favorite Masonic symbols. That's I would say of the how to phrase this of the second tier Masonic symbols. Like they're the ones everyone knows, the square and compass and the plumb and the level or whatever that are we talk about all the time in lodge. But the beehive, and so you talked about how it's a collective action and that sort of thing. It's directed by one person, the worshipful master, the queen of the hive. There's a collective action that's going on by the group to accomplish a common goal. We, from the outside of the beehive, can't see what's going on inside the beehive, much like the lodge. The bees are in there, they're making their honey, they're doing their thing. And then they come out of the beehive and they go about their business, and then they come back into the beehive. And we can't see what's going on in there. Now someone's going to say, well, yeah, you just pull a little shelfie thing out and you can see all the bees there, but work with me here. Another aspect of that is that the bees are in there making something, like they're taking nectar from the flowers and they're turning it into honey, arguably by vomiting it, but that's a whole separate another separate issue. Work with me. But they're creating this substance that is very valuable out of what they see out in the world and what they retrieve from the world. They bring it into the hive, into the lodge, and then process it and form it into something that is valuable to society, to those of us not in the hive. And there's a couple other things about the beehive too that like I said, I could go on, but the beehive is one of my faves.
So, interestingly enough, now if this was next week's recording, that would have I'd have more to say on it. But so tomorrow I'm going to a lodge in Vernon where one of the past masters is going to present what they refer to as the alternate senior warden's lecture in the Master Mason degree, and they say that it's often referred to as the beehive lecture, right? And I've never heard this, right? So I'm going to go and see this. And one of the guys actually sent me a picture of the work, and one of the pages, it has the total reference to the beehive, which has many statements in it, but it is, it teaches us that, so one of the lines, so should we ever be industrious ones, right? Working as a team and to achieve that goal, kind of thing, right? But it's of course can't really go into all of the verbiage in here, but it's there's a whole 2 pages on it. That was rather interesting. So I'm looking forward to that lecture tomorrow night, actually.
Matt, I appreciate that analogy. I hadn't earlier thought about the beehive in that way. And as you were talking about it too, I thought not only are the bees doing something behind and creating something, but they're also creating new bees, essentially, which we are creating. We're not having having babies, but we're, if you want to take it to that analogy, we're creating new men out of, and as we bring those elements from within and modify those,
making new Masons.
We're making new Masons and helping them to become different,
right,
and to be part of the team. I like that. I really like that.
Right.
And I mean, the beehive is, in non-Masonic circles, seen as a symbol of industry. It's on the state flag of Utah, or at least it used to be. Last time I looked at state flags, it was on the state flag of Utah, but they change them once in a while. And I think it even said industry underneath it. I think it was, it's a common symbol for that. So
cool. Well, moving on to the next one is the in the book, anyways, is the plum.
Those common symbols Matt talked about.
Yeah, the popular ones.
the tier one symbol. Yeah.
Yeah. So, any deep thoughts on that one? Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, not anything real deep, but the reference here is in operative masonry, it's to see if a vertical wall or surface is level, and in speculative we use it to remind us to behave and be in an upright manner in our duties to God and their dealings with their fellow man, right? Which I think is it's a great reminder that way. If we can all remember that when we're carrying outside the lodge the teachings from within it, right? It's interesting. A lot of guys give the lecture. You would think that they'd be carrying these lessons outside the lodge more frequently, but yet you don't hear a lot about some of these things. So I don't know. I think it's one of our coolest symbols, actually, for having a good reference between operative and speculative masonry.
I've never quit. I know from a practical standpoint, I get it, but I've never understood why the plum itself isn't free flowing on the jewel.
It would get broken off.
It is in ours.
It is. I know on the level, our little level bob is hanging, if you will, but on our junior warden, I think it's a solid device. I don't think it's just symbolic. I don't think there's actually
in ours it hangs from the collar off of 2 rings so that it is free flowing, if you will, right?
As a plumb bob is very much so, right?
Ours is
same as the level, right, in that sense, right?
Our lodge is just one piece of metal for both of them. So
yeah, I'd have to look at ours again. I was thinking maybe ours doesn't have the little. I was thinking it had that little dangly plumb bob on the level, but maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. But I always just thought, why isn't it just the plumb bob as the symbol? Why is it a whole piece of metal? But
right. Well, which of course can move us right on to the next one, which is the level, right?
All right. So, all right. Soapbox is firmly planted. I'm going to step back up on it again here. The level in the ritual is so poorly explained, in my opinion. We talk about the plumb being just an upright and all that sort of thing, and supporting. If you're going to support a roof, you need a perpendicular thing, and that, etc. The level, as they travel on this level of time to the undiscovered country, what do I need a level for that? That's just.
Well, you see, don't, in your work at the end of a meeting, does it not ask the senior warden, how do we meet? We meet upon the level, right? So, we're all equal, right? It's reference, in speculative masonry is that we are all equal. We're on the same plane, right?
Which I guess in our ritual, it does say that in the installation ceremony, right? It says that he's whatever.
Only in the installation
in
ceremony.
the charge, it says that in the charge. Brother Senior Warden, how do Masons meet?
Right. Yeah, there's that at the close, but there's also in the installation.
Sorry,
there,
the close,
I can't summon it right now.
It's actually in a couple of our lectures throughout our degrees. It made reference to.
See, I don't think we have that really.
Yeah,
the level
it's only a brief paragraph, but go ahead.
The level reminds us that we are descended from the same stock and partake of the same nature. And although distinctions among men are necessary to preserve subordination, yet no eminence of station should make us forget that we are brethren. And he who is placed upon the lowest spoke of fortune wheel may be entitled to our guard, because a time will come when the lives knows not how soon, when the grand leveler of human greatness reduces us to the same state. That's one of my favorite pieces of our installation.
Yeah,
Biscuit says, don't forget, you're to be dead one day.
Or you're going to be a nobody on the sideline.
Well, that too, yeah.
Hopefully someday I'll be a nobody on the sideline.
Or connects you to that phrase, from the ranks you rose, to the ranks you shall return, right?
Which I'm going to be this year. I have no station for the first time in 16 years.
So you mean you're going to be the busiest guy in lodge? Right? Karsten and I, neither of us had an appointed station. We were not installed as anything this year, right? And yet we've been the busiest guys in lodge, filling in for this, filling in for that, right? Yeah. Karsten says, I was looking forward to my year off. Right? Yeah, no year off, right? Not for us kind of guys who just say, well, yeah, whatever the lodge needs us to do, right? Yeah.
I get to complain about everything. Not that I stopped doing that, but I get to complain about everything now.
Yeah. Well, off of the Muppets there's that, I'll pull it out. The
Statler and Waldorf?
Yeah, Statler and Waldorf, right? Okay. Karsten and I each have one of these made now and printed, so that we can sit on the sidelines like this, and we've got them in our aprons for when we're sitting on the sidelines together. But we have not had one opportunity to sit on the sidelines together this year, right?
My daughter at her second installation for Rainbow as worthy advisor actually had the two Rainbow dads do that. Like they sat behind the treasurer's desk in lodge, and they had a little spiel about police stitch. It was pretty funny. They did a really good job of it. So it was.
They did a little skit. Yeah, right on.
Yep. Yeah, they would do a little commentary during the ceremony. They were really funny. They did a good job.
All right. Yes. So back to the back to the ranks. You're going this year, are you, David?
Yep. Yeah. I'm not don't have a station, so it'll be interesting. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Excellent. Sure. So shall we move on to the next one there then?
All right.
Letter G, the infamous letter G.
A little bit longer section there. Do we have time for that one, Matt?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's about time that we call it, unfortunately.
Right.
We'll go there next time to the letter G. This episode brought to you by the letter G. The number 3 is 5 and 7.
Bit of a teaser for those listening to this episode, because that's the one that everybody always wants to know. What's the G stand for?
That was actually one of the first questions about Masonry I asked my wife's father, who is a Mason. So there you go. Tune in next time.
Stick around for the next episode.
Exactly. So with that, on behalf of Stephen and David and the absent Craig and myself, thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. Oh, actually, no. Before I sign off, Steve went and found the episode. So the Circumpunct was season 2, episode 17. So I encourage you to go back and check that out. So now, on behalf of David and Stephen and the absent Craig and myself, we thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast and look forward to talking to you again soon. Goodbye.